everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Strike Noise, your uncle's favorite baseball history podcast. Your mom has given up on us, apparently, but your uncle is on board. He's a big fan, so you should be too. My name is Jeff. I'm one half of the show. Joining me, as always, from the Pacific Northwest in the John Olerud studio this week, it is Mark A. Johnston. Mark, we were gone for a week, so welcome back.
Oh, it's good to be back. It's good to be in front of the microphone and chatting with you again, Jeff.
Well, let's talk about some baseball, should we?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, this is show number 291. Jeez. We're getting close. We're getting very close. From what I have gathered from our production staff, show 300 could be Seinfeld related. Just throwing it out there. I have actually seen, we have gotten some messages asking if we have a Seinfeld episode or are we going to do one, because we talk about it every show. I think it's going to happen. I've got a guest.
I like the idea.
I've got a guest that is perfect for it. So we do have a guest today. After our BP segment, we're going to be talking 1985 World Series, which is something that I had not thought about for a while, and I really enjoyed it. We're going to have Marshall Garvey is going to be on here to talk about his book about the 1985 World Series. But Mark, before we do that, we're getting up there in age, so we need to stretch out, get some BP in, so we don't pull anything. Too late. We already
Too late.
Yeah. So let's talk about another old guy, Justin Verlander. My God, have you seen Justin Verlander's numbers from this year?
Yeah.
They're not good.
Yeah. It doesn't look the same.
No. So, I mean, he went from kind of a middle of a rotation vet for the past couple of years, who's going to gut out every start. You know what you're going to get, to looking completely cooked now. Like, I mean, he's a pitcher. It's like a running back in football. It's like you blink an eye and they're done. But the only reason I thought of him was because the Giants were getting beat the other day, and Mike Yastrzemski, position player, came in and pitched. And I looked at the box score, and Verlander had started that game, and he is 0-7 is his record, which who cares about records that much. But then I went through the rest of his numbers. The first time through the batting order, batters are only hitting 239 against him with a 302 on base. That's not bad. Second time through the order, 294 batting average with a 361 on base.
Yikes.
And if he makes it through a third time, which he does not very often, they're hitting 293 and a 359 on base. So almost exactly the same as the second time through the order. I mean, do you just stick him out there at this point and just say, get through the order once and then you're done?
Make him one of those openers.
Yeah, like a 3-inning opener, though.
That's right.
I think he's got that in him, but wow, not enjoying San Francisco. Let's talk about the weather, shall we? It's becoming summer. Well, it's becoming summer on the West Coast, which usually happens on July 4th. I know everybody else has been hot before this, but I was looking for some All-Star stories since the All-Star game is coming up, and I found one about a unique balk during the 1961 All-Star game. It was in Candlestick Park. Giants reliever Stu Miller was on the mound, and you know, he's like, oh God, who am I going to have to face? Mickey Mantle, you know, who are these big names I'm going to have to face? It turns out that his biggest battle was with Mother Nature. In the ninth inning, Rocky Calavito is at the plate. There's runners on base. Miller goes into his windup, and as happened at Candlestick Park, it was windy, believe it or not. And a big enough gust came up in the middle of his motion that it blew him off the mound. Umpires called a balk. Roger Maris, Al Kaline, still in the game in the ninth inning, which is funny, went to second and third on the call. So Mother Nature causing a balk.
That's interesting.
I read this and I was wondering, first of all, in a regular season game, would that really be a balk? I don't know that it would be today, but then bang. July 8th, just a couple of days ago, AAA game between the Norfolk Tides and the Durham Bulls. Roansy Contreras is mid windup, and there's a thunder clap in the middle of his windup, and he flinches and stops his motion, and they called a balk.
Yep. I saw that.
So I remember there's a video. I don't remember. I think it was in Texas at the middle Arlington ballpark where there was a thunder strike like that, clap, whatever they're called. And everybody ran. The pitcher ran from the mound, the batter ran, the umpire ran. Is that, I don't know how you call a balk with that. That's, the play kind of comes to a stop, but it's just weird coincidence that I read about that earlier in the week and wondered about it. And then literally the next day, it's like, Alexa's always listening to you when you're talking in your house, and then you get ads that are targeted for whatever you thought you were talking about in private. I think baseball did that to me.
Yeah, it's too much of a coincidence to be otherwise.
So let's talk about the Mets coming back and winning this game against the Orioles right now. Let's talk about the Mets winning a World Series. Let's put it out there. Just saying. All right, Mark, this show is supposed to debut on 7-Eleven. Nice. Is it Slurpee Day? Is that 7-Eleven? Is that free Slurpee Day?
I don't know. Might be.
Well, if it is, go get a free Slurpee. Even if it isn't, and you're listening to this on 7-Eleven, just go into 7-Eleven and say, yeah, it's free Slurpee Day. I heard about it on a podcast, a baseball history podcast.
It helps us out.
Yeah. We've got some debuts, some very interesting debuts today. First of all, in 1914, for the Boston Red Sox, somebody named George Herman Ruth made his major league debut, otherwise known as Babe. I don't know if you've heard of him or not.
No, George Herman. I think I've heard of George Herman.
We've done a whole episode on George Herman. Babe Ruth made his debut. I wanted to talk about when he was called the best left-handed pitcher in baseball. Ruth was 18-8 with a 2.44 ERA in his first full season on the mound, which was 1915. Let's see. He was a member of the 20-win club. He went 23-12 the very next year, was an ERA champion with a 1.75 ERA. Then he went 24-13. Obviously a pretty good pitcher. Babe Ruth holds the pitching records for most shutouts in a season by a lefty with 9. He is tied with Ron Guidry, who, if you listen to the rest of this podcast, just remember Ron Guidry. And most innings pitched in a World Series game. He pitched 14 innings in 1916 in a World Series complete game 2-1 victory.
Wow.
Okay. Mark, there are 13 verified nicknames that I found for Babe Ruth. How many of them can you name?
None?
You can name, I guarantee you can name a couple of them. The Bambino, the Bambino,
the great Bambino, the King of Crash.
Yeah.
The Sultan of SWAT.
Yeah.
The Babe.
I mean, technically, yeah. The Colossus of Clout.
The Colossus of Clout.
The Whizzer of Wham. I don't know what a WAZIR, but I'm going to assume it's positive. The Maharaja of MASH. The Raja of Rap. The Caliph of Clout, the King of Clout, I think is the better one there. The Behemoth of Bust.
Okay.
Sounds like an adult magazine. The Mammoth of Maul. The Mauling Mastodon. The Mauling Monarch. The Wally of Wallop. Which, W-A-L-I. These are some old-timey words here.
I guess.
And then his teammates called him Jidge.
Okay.
Kind of, I'm wondering if that has to do with his weight. I don't know. I don't know what Jidge is. Member of the inaugural class, along with Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Christy Mathis, and Walter Johnson, the inaugural class of the Hall of Fame. Who do you think got the most votes? I know we've covered this, but that was a long time ago. Who do you think got the most votes out of that initial class?
My inkling is Ruth, but was it Walter Johnson?
Walter Johnson actually got the least. He's the one that barely made it in. Ty Cobb got 98.2% of the votes. Babe Ruth, 95.3 or 95.1, which was tied with Honus Wagner. Then Christy Mathison with 90.7. And then Walter Johnson, 83.6. Barely. 17%
of the baseball writers thought Walter Johnson didn't belong.
Well, remember that initial class, a lot of people didn't get in because they didn't want to just put everybody in that first class. And then they would have had like years of nobody going in.
Right.
There you go. Babe Ruth made his debut today. Also, somebody that is a big part of our main conversation here today, making his debut in 1968 was Hal McRae, Brian's father. Yes. Hal McRae. As a player, McRae played for 19 years, 15 of it with the Royals. Also, he came up and played his first 4 with Cincinnati in the Big Red Machine era. 3-time All-Star, member of the 1985 World Series winner. McRae, there's a great story I found about him as a player here. He apparently received a motivational speech that was very important to him at one point in his career. 1969, he shows up to Reds camp. His leg is still in a cast. He had broken it the year before, sliding into second. Meanwhile, Harry Carey, the voice of the Cardinals at this point, and we did an episode on Harry way back when, and in that episode we covered how Harry was hit by a car at one point and like broke his entire self. Like his entire body almost was in a cast. But I think, and I'm not sure of this, I think it might have been an attempted hit by the bushes, because we mentioned that there was rumors that Harry and Augie's wife were very friendly, but we won't go into that here. But Harry's there at spring training on crutches, still wearing a cast as well. I just picture him with like cup holders attached to his crutches with like tall boys, Budweiser tall boys, of course, in them. But the manager of the Reds, Dave Bristol, saw this and he points it out to Hal McRae, who's in a cast and not playing. And he says, look at that old man. Broke everything but his mustache. He's still out here working. Meanwhile, you break one leg sliding and you're still in a cast. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Very motivational there.
Very. Way to talk it up, man.
But McRae took this to heart, and he apparently took this probably half-drunk broadcaster as inspiration. Years later, he would use these lessons. What he would do is when, and this is from Dan Quisenberry, he recalled that anytime a Royals player sat out with an injury, McRae would dress up like a commando, hide in a trash can in the clubhouse, jump out, and fake shoot at the guy who was not playing because he was injured. Because in Hal's world, if you were too hurt to play, you're already dead to the team.
Okay.
So between that and what I'm about to talk about, I feel for Brian McRae growing up, honestly. I don't remember Hal as much as a player, as a manager for the Royals especially. And I think most people know where I'm going to go with this, but let's listen to a little audio first.
Consider Brett for Miller with the bases loaded in the seventh.
No, don't ask me all these stupid ass questions. No. In the all these stupid ass questions every night. Find the when I hit Brett for Miller. Miller started the game. He's playing against left-handed pitchers. Brett is not playing against left-handed pitchers. Find the what I batted for Miller. You think I'm a damn fool?
So that goes on for a while.
Well, I'll tell you what. Now, Jeff, you know this. I studied political science. I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I don't claim to have any sort of great knowledge in that aspect. But I'm listening to that. I'm thinking he was upset.
I think so, too. Now, because this is just audio, in the middle of this, a drink flies across this was in Hal McRae's office. Drink flies across. Papers go up in the air like a cartoon when a person's leaving a room quickly in a cloud of dust, and there's usually a couple of papers kind of flipped up. At one point, he yanks the phone off his desk and not shot puts it, the discus, where he like spins around with it and then throws it into the wall. He also throws an ashtray, because of course everyone had ashtrays everywhere at that point, which hit one of the writers in the cheek and drew blood, like he had to go get stitches. After that, McRae pauses for a minute and apologizes because he sees he's injured somebody. But then he kicks them out of his office. And then immediately, like a minute later, he comes out of the office holding a bottle of vodka in his hand and starts over again.
Wow.
No repercussions. Wasn't fired, wasn't suspended. Just, it's the 80s, baby. And then also, finally, making his debut today in 2021, Mark, the big dumper.
Oh, yes.
Cal Raleigh made his debut today. It seems to me like he's been around longer than that, but no, he's not been around that long. What I did is I ran a little comparison because he's hitting home runs like they're going out of style here. breaking records for not just catchers, but mariners and a lot of probably switch hitters, no, he's not a switch hitter. He's a lefty.
No, he's a switch hitter.
Yeah. Switch hitters he's breaking records for. I wanted to compare the first 4 seasons of Cal Raleigh versus some other power hitting primary catchers. So Carlton Fisk, Mike Piazza, Johnny Bench, and Yogi Berra. Let's see. WAR-wise, so far Cal Raleigh has a 16.1 career WAR. Mike Piazza has a 22.4, followed closely by Bench's 22.1 during that time period.
Wow.
So as good, I mean, just imagine how, I think we remember Piazza, but imagine how good Bench was in those first couple of years.
Oh, man.
Home run-wise, Raleigh has the most out of all of them in the first 4 years with 129, just getting past Piazza's 128. And then Bench has 114. And then Yogi and Fisk are way in single digits behind that. RBI, Piazza's way ahead in that. Stolen bases, he's up there. He's got 16. He's sneaky.
He is.
He's sneaky.
He'll wait for that right moment.
Yeah, well, so Fisk has 17 at this point in his career and Bench 14. It's like they were all quick to start out with, but then crouching all those years finally takes its toll and they kind of lose it. But batting average wise, he is a full 100 points behind the leader Piazza, who is hit 326 at this point. Cal's at 226. On base, though, he is very close to Bench. Again, Piazza's above and beyond everybody by like 70 to 80 points in all of these other categories. But he is right there with Johnny Bench, Carlton Fisk, and even a little bit ahead of Yogi Berra at this point in his career. So I just wanted to bring those up as some comps to Cal Raleigh. One of those players that is, he might turn into like the best offensive catcher ever. We don't know, but he's certainly off to a very strong start. So I just wanted to point that out.
He's very dangerous up there from both sides of the plate. Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to mention, not a debut, but today in 1976 in a pre-game promotion at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, 34 couples were married at home plate before a game.
Okay.
The nuptials were then followed by it just says championship wrestling event. I don't know if it was WCW. 76 WCW wouldn't have been. This is probably some, Smoky Mountain Wrestling or something. The event was billed as headlocks and wedlocks. And then after that, Atlanta and the Mets played a game. So a full day of entertainment at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium in 1976 today.
If you like weddings, yes.
Yeah, or wrestling, which sometimes they're the same thing. Yeah, there you go. All right, that'll do it for our BP segment. Mark, let's let the ground crew come out and do their stuff. And let's get right into the main segment. All right, so let's get in the Wayback Machine here. It's October 1985. Whitney Houston, Saving All My Love for You is the top 100 charts. Live Aid and the first WrestleMania have recently happened, which is awesome. I think it would have been better if they would have been combined into a single event like Wrestle Aid. I could see that. VCRs are very popular. Boomers already confused on how to set the clocks on them, so they're just flashing. The Electric Company ends, which is sad for me because Hey You Guys is something that I will always remember. But where the Electric Company ended, Gem and the Holograms picks it up, syndicated. I always watch G.I. Joe, but Gem and the Holograms is on right after G.I. Joe, which is always weird. Arnold Schwarzenegger is blowing up half of Central America in Commando, but in the baseball world, things just as exciting are happening. And to talk about what is going on in October in 1985, we are joined by Marshall Garvey, the author of a book called Interstate 85, The Royals, the Cardinals, and the Show Me World Series. Marshall, thank you for joining us. We're excited to talk about the 1985 World Series with you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It's an underrated gem of a World Series. And like you just laid out, it happened in the midst of a great year for pop culture and sports, and it's a blast to talk about. I'm excited.
So before we get started here, Royals, Cardinals, tell me, I know you're a Dodgers fan. You currently reside near me in Northern California. How did you pick the 85 World Series?
The long and short of it is, I've been a baseball fan, but more so baseball historian first since I was a kid. So I knew about the 85 World Series through my old World Series encyclopedia. I still have it too, dog-eared as it is. I knew the basics of it. Of course, I knew about the Don Denkinger call. Who doesn't? But it always just kind of stuck in my mind in a really odd way. Maybe because of that call and that overshadowed a lot of things. It was fate itself that really kicked it into gear. It was April 15th, 2020. We're a month into quarantine. I'm already a full-time remote writer, and I realized I got a lot more time now to get going on my next baseball book. And a friend of mine, Jay Daniel, was working on a book about the 82 World Series, Cardinals and Brewers, Sud Series, which is what that ended up being. And I start with that train of thought and go for my run, and it goes to 85. And it's just, I was blown away. Wait a minute, I think I got something here. The 85 World Series, no one's really touched that, in forever. It seems forgotten. And I started to develop the idea of an exhaustive tome about it, both Royals and Cardinals and Denkinger. And long story short, that my hunch on that run, that there was more to 85 than the call, turned out to be very true.
And I think I emailed you when I was about halfway through it. This book to me I don't know why. It read like a game. Maybe because I just hadn't revisited it. Like you said, nobody has really covered it that much in the past 20 years. So I was kind of remembering things and it just kept spurring me along. But let's talk about leading up to the World Series, first of all, because there were two really exciting LCSs. We've got the Royals took on the Blue Jays, where the Blue Jays were up 3-1, which it's over, right? But obviously the Royals came back. I think that was the first time in an LCS that a team had come back from a 3-1 deficit to win. Maybe even more exciting was the NLCS with the Cardinals. And maybe this is why it also interests you, the Dodgers. I don't want to pick at a scab here, but for me, this is the one thing that I definitely remember a lot about the 85 NLCS, and kind of the first thing of baseball that I really remember is this.
Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy.
That is, one of the great calls for me, and I think the only Ozzie Smith home run I ever saw.
Don't forget, he hit that off of home run Niedenfuer.
Yeah. Up a couple and the big ones in that series.
Hence the name. You don't want the name home run when you're a pitcher, is the problem.
You really don't.
No. Now, the greatest thing, and maybe you can add some color to this, was I love Jack Clark as a player, as a person. I've got to kind of disassociate myself with some things, but that home run that he hit, first of all, Pedro Guerrero slamming the glove down like this.
I'll never forget it.
It's like the Sandlot kind of thing. What professional player slams his glove down during a game?
Oh, that's a hilarious visual. Andy Van Slyke, I interviewed Andy for the book. He was one of my best interviews. Andy loved that. He said that visual of Pedro Guerrero slamming his glove on the ground was about the most satisfying thing I could ever have. Because not only do I get to celebrate a pennant, I get to watch another guy suffer. That was funny.
I love that. But I also love what Jack Clark said, what he yelled at the Cardinals dugout to his teammates after he hit that, and yells into the Cardinals dugout, "That's a big fly, bitches."
Yes. Ken Daly, Cardinals relief pitcher, told me that. And I've heard other people said that too. That was really funny. You can see him mouthing that too on the broadcast. He kind of slows down, does a high five with Nick Leyva, the first base coach, and does that really long, savory trot. Of course, for Dodger fans, that was before my time. My dad had to suffer that. But the Clark home run is a great Dodger trauma, but that is objectively a great, great moment.
I love that. Now, what I also want to talk about, because I remember it when it happened. I didn't know what a terrapin. It's a tarp, but they kept calling it an electric terrapin. Even when I was rewatching highlights prepping for this, Al Michaels, that's all he calls it. And I didn't know what that was. I've seen pictures of it. Vince Coleman, we talk about a lot here. Big fireworks enthusiast, Vince Coleman. And he got caught under this somehow, which again just boggles my mind. But he was a huge cog to this Cardinals team. I am a huge Rickey Henderson fan, so I love small ball. I love stolen bases. So Vince Coleman is one of the guys that I have always liked. But can you give me some idea of how this happened and why did we need an electric tarp at any point?
It was before Game 4 of the NLCS at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. A light drizzle was coming down during batting practice, so just out of precaution, the tarp started to unfurl. And Vince was just caught up in conversation. I think specifically he was throwing a glove to someone in the Cardinals dugout. Andy Vance, again, God, his interview was just loaded with gems. He was just like, Vince was holding court, he wasn't aware of his surroundings. He gets really verbal, so he had to be the fastest guy who could be caught by a 1 mile an hour tarp. And I mean, that thing could have killed him. That's like thousands of pounds bearing down on him. And then Ozzie Smith and others ran to the controller and said, oh, you turned it off, but had to unspool back over his leg. So bruised his ankle, and he was out for the NLCS and ultimately out for the World Series. Although Tito Landrum, I actually just wrote a whole article about this for a Cardinals magazine that'll be published next week. Tito Landrum did do a great job filling in for him and left. So even though they were robbed of the big stolen base, their leadoff guy, they did have a strong backup in Landrum.
This kind of reeks of the 80s to me, where there's this dangerous thing that somebody pushes a button and there's nobody out there watching it or making sure people are away from it. They're just like, I'm push the button. It's NLCS. Everyone will know to get out of the way. And down goes the literal cog of Whitey ball. All right, so let's head into the World Series now. First of all, a couple of things here that I love is that both of these teams had their own themes. Not really themes, but they had their own music that they would play before each game. And what I love is these are just so 80s, and I remember hearing these at baseball games. So first of all, I think this is a great one for baseball, and Glenn Frey. The heat is on. This is the Cardinals, right?
Right.
I mean, this just works so well at a baseball game, especially with Whitey ball. The heat is on because everybody's fast. You got to be perfect. You got
pressure's high just to stay alive.
I mean, this was on the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, which was a huge movie too. I mean, I'm sorry, this just reeks of 80s, and I love reminding myself of this stuff. Then the Royals, equally as good. I guess I have not been able to find it, but I guess there is a Let's Go Royals version of this.
Yes, there was a radio station in Kansas City that had a Let's Go Royals version of that. So that was a big anthem in the lead up to the World Series. And the heat is on for the Cardinals. There was a specific remix that was intercut with a bunch of Cardinal radio calls. And I'd have to imagine not every household, every 1 in 3 households in St. Louis had to have had a copy of that mix. Yeah, the heat is, part of the fun of this, and as we touched on, was 85 was a great pop culture year. I made a playlist on Apple Music of 1985 songs from big hits to forgotten stuff. And I included The Heat Is On. So I'd play that every now and then while riding.
It has another lyric in it that really, it half fits but doesn't fit. It's caught up in the action. I've been looking out for you, which Vince Coleman did get caught up in the action.
Yeah, he did.
But he was not looking out for you.
He wasn't looking out for himself.
All right, so let's get into the World Series here. Like you said, Vince Coleman out. Many shots of him in some sort of cast. It was a real weird looking cast in the dugout.
Yeah.
But game 1 in Kansas City, people are going crazy, and it was a pretty good ball game. I mean, 3-1 was the final, but a great pitching performance by Janny Jackson, who did get the loss, but he went 7 innings, 4 hits, struck out 7. But John Tudor was incredible, and so was Todd Worrell, who came in for a 2 1/3 inning save. When do you see that in the World Series ever?
Oh, I know. I mean, that's another. One of the things I love about the 85 series is that there are all these things about it that are so anachronistic. It's very much a great benchmark of how the game was played and managed then. It seems alien now. But yeah, a closer, any reliever going 2 innings in a World Series game.
Out nobody. Like the ball was being put in play too. He wasn't just blowing through them. He was doing his job. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. This is really kind of a time capsule of 1980s baseball before the steroid era, because it's relievers going as long as you need them. You got speedy players. You've got all AstroTurf World Series. I mean, it's a thing. Tito Landrum, like you said, did have an RBI double, I think, in there. So a good job there. Game 2, again, taking 2 games on the road is a great way to start out for the Cardinals. Charlie Leibrandt started this one for the Royals, went 8 2/3, and then unfortunately ran into some trouble, and the shutout was gone and the win was gone. 4 runs in the top of the 9th for the Cardinals, and ultimately a 2-0 lead. Yikes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was a stunning comeback. That was the biggest comeback of its kind in a World Series game since 1939. And poor Charlie Leibrandt, I think you look at his playoff track record, I literally called that chapter Bad Luck Charlie. Like that inning in particular, you compare that to how the Cardinals won the pennant with those massive home runs by Ozzie and Clark. All the hits that Leibrandt gave up in that rally in the 9th were just like little dribblers and floaters. It was just totally rotten luck, but it was a tough loss for the Royals. A lot of second guessing on Dick Howser. People thought he should have gone to Dan Quisenberry earlier in that inning. And at that point, no team had ever lost the first 2 games at home in a World Series and come back to win. So it probably spelled a lot of doom for a good number of people in Kansas City at the moment.
And time capsule moment again here in today's game. Maybe even if Leibrandt finishes the 8th, there's no way you're trotting him out there. You don't care about a complete game shutout. You want to win in the World Series, and you've got Dan Quisenberry in the bullpen. Why not use him? I can understand the second guessing there. For Game 3, we head to St. Louis. I guess some people, including umpires, would just drive. Did the team drive? Did the teams jump in a bus, or no? They got on planes, right?
They got on planes. The teams flew. Dick Howser, Royals manager, he and his daughters and a friend of his actually drove down I-70, Interstate 70 to St. Louis. Don Denkinger and his family were also caravanning down I-70. But I think the teams were in planes heading to and from.
How long is that flight? I mean, that's got to be you get up and then you come back down.
That's got to be pretty quick, because I think it's like 3.5 hours between Kansas City and St. Louis driving time. So that's got to be.
It's probably like San Francisco to LA then.
It's got to be. It's got to be pretty quick. So.
I remember an old Pauly Shore, again, I'm dating myself here, but he's like, it's like a chill airline pilot. He's like, yeah, we're going to fly at about 5,000. We're just going to follow the freeway. And I can imagine that's kind of like what this flight was like. Once they get there, though, the Royals get their first win, a 6-1 win. Bert Saberhagen, we'll talk about that a little bit later, gets the win here. He looks impressive. Joaquin Andujar, I mean, the second half of the season for Joaquin Andujar was awful, and it continues here in the playoff. This is his second loss in the playoffs already. Just not a great one, but Saberhagen complete game. So here, the Royals bullpen should be really rusted, because Quisenberry pitched a third of an inning. Then they had a day off, and then Sabes comes in and pitches a complete game, 6-hit, 1-run, just masterpiece for the win. And now people are thinking, all right, maybe we've got a series on our hands here. Who knows? Buddy Biancalana comes up with a couple of big hits. Buddy Biancalana was a big thing here because of David Letterman.
That's right.
At this point.
Yes, the infamous. It's so funny because what I write in the book is that Buddy Biancalana, right down to his really funny sounding name, his last name translates to white wool in Italian. That sounds like the kind of name only the most hardcore Kansas City cranks would know about. But in August, David Letterman did a skit at his expense, because if you ever, obviously one of the big moments in baseball and all sports of '85 was Pete Rose breaking Ty Cobb's all-time hit record. And so David Letterman came up with a skit where it's like, we're close to seeing Pete Rose break the record, but now with this Buddy Biancalana hit counter, you can see Buddy chased the record as well, and you see this counter with both Buddy and Pete Rose's faces next to each other. And he's like, Buddy got a hit, like one hit last week, plops it down. It's like 4,000 something for Pete Rose, 12 for Buddy. Like, all right, only 4,122 to go. Good luck, Buddy, And it just seems like a throwaway gag. But then Buddy Biancalana, a utility player at best, has a phenomenal postseason. So he got the last laugh ultimately.
Okay. In a few weeks, Pete Rose will break Ty Cobb's all-time hit record, but the attention of the baseball world will shift then to another historic record chase. And with this Buddy Biancalana hit counter, you can chart the Royals' veteran utility infielders' march to immortality. All right, let's see. Buddy got a hit, one hit last week. All right. Only 4,181 hits to go. Good luck, Buddy. Keep up the good work.
That will parlay into, after the World Series, a actual visit on the show by Buddy Biancalana, where he displays some good comedy chops, a smart guy with some good jokes. I was very impressed with Buddy. Some good names, though, just in this series. You've got Buddy Biancalana, you got Joaquin Andujar, you've got Dan Quisenberry, Jeff Lottie. I mean, there are some quality names.
I touched on that in my upcoming Tito Landrum article for Portion Under Bush. I consider this the ultimate baseball name World Series. Tito Landrum is right there is another one. These are just those monikers that just stick in the mind. Like only baseball, and specifically 80s baseball, could give you such delicious names like this. It's part
only
of the fun.
Kurt Bavacqua could have been involved in this somehow.
If only.
So that's really the only highlight, though, for the Royals for the next couple of games. They're shut out in Game 4. John Tudor with a great game, 3-0. It's a shutout. What are you going to do? A complete game, 5-hit shutout puts them up 3-1. And now, I mean, you're kind of on the brink here. Al Michaels makes reference to how everybody said this is a boring World Series on the broadcasts. And then the Royals kind of have nothing to lose. Back against the wall, Game 6. Danny Jackson back out there. A 6-1 win over the Royals. Game 5. A 6-1 win for Danny Jackson. Complete game. A lot of complete games in this World Series.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Again, like you said, not the third time through the lineup stuff. You complete games as much as you can. It's what I love about it.
And a rare moment here that nobody knew about at the time, at least because immaculate innings weren't a thing at this point. Nobody had coined that term or paid attention, but Danny Jackson did have an immaculate inning in the 7th even. He goes 9, and that late in the game, he has a 9-pitch, 3-strikeout inning.
Yep.
First pitcher in postseason history at that time that they know of.
And the only one to date. 40 years later, he's still the only. I mean, the MLB postseason has been around since 1903. He's still the only one with an immaculate inning and all that, which I think is pretty remarkable.
Wow. That is incredible. So now we go to Game 6. This is Game 6 of the next year. Also is going to be kind of the thing where it all happens. Mm-hmm. Again, 3-2. Cardinals are 1 game away from putting this thing to bed. You got Charlie Leibrandt versus Danny Cox. Leibrandt, again, great for the Royals. Danny Cox, 7 shutout innings himself. I mean, just a great game. All the scoring late here. Now, we talk about the Denkinger call. That's what people remember. Bottom of the 9th inning, and we get the call from Denkinger. But that was not the first missed call that game that might have been equally as important. That took place earlier in the game.
And this is one of my big revelations in the book, and something I learned about actually early on in developing it. In the bottom of the 4th, the Royals could have scored the first run of the game. Frank White got a bunt single off of Danny Cox, and he took off for a steal attempt and was thrown out by Darryl Porter, except televised replays showed that the tag was not applied to his chest in time. Ozzie Smith kind of went over his foot, over his leg, and tagged White's chest, but White actually touched the bag first. So he was actually safe, and he would have scored easily on the subsequent hit by Pat Sheridan. And again, that was emphasized in detail by the ABC announcing crew. And that's crucial to note because not only will the Royals go up 1-0, and that could change the momentum of the game, but that game was so tight, like every moment elevated, and it's a pitcher's duel, that I think it turns the lineup over differently. So I don't think the Dankinger call likely would have even happened in the 9th. So that was a pretty wild discovery. Yeah, and that's emphasized in my book.
So let's now move to the 9th inning, bottom of the 9th inning. And let's just listen to this. Jorge Orta up at the plate, and this is what happened.
Little squibber to the right side. Worrell races over to cover. The throw doesn't get him. Worrell got to the bag in an argument here, and here comes Herzog amongst the other quartet. First base umpire is Dankinger, American League. Looks like he's out. From that angle, let's take a look from this one. Oh, yes. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Only in one person's mind.
I liked how he's got to clarify that he's from the American League. Like this is some big conspiracy or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what boggles my mind rewatching this, I watched this whole game yesterday. It sucked me in as soon as I started watching it.
Oh, yeah.
It sucked me in, but there wasn't much of an argument. Just like Frank White didn't argue the stolen base. He didn't want to get thrown out, which I think is funny, but Herzog comes out and barely argues. The players just walk away. Obviously there's no instant replay, but today that would have been a 15-minute gap in between this with arguing and so, but it was just like a 30-second thing. And then he goes away and then the Cardinals just fall apart.
Exactly. And I detailed that in the book. It's like the call has been kind of frozen in time. It's like you would almost think that was literally the moment that decided the game in World Series. When in reality, it was consequential, don't get me wrong, but it was still just it was the leadoff hitter. It's the first moment of that inning. And there was so much more that happened after that I think people either downplay or they forget. That was quite a wild inning that transpired after it.
The Cardinals just couldn't throw a strike, went through pitchers. The defense, you could see they just lost it and carried over, unfortunately for them, to Game 7. This was just such a great series. I love it. And the book just brought back so many things, and watching it, it was a great time for me because I'm a little excited. And I took my meds today, so, I'm able to focus and so forth.
That's always a big deal. It's always a better show when you take your meds. I did want to mention this is the MLB had a weird rule back then about the designated hitter, and in 76 through 85, I think the DH was used on even years, and pitchers had to hit whether they were American League or National League in odd years.
Yes, and that's another one of those arcane features of the series that's so interesting to look back in retrospect. And that was big. Actually, fitting you brought that up, Mark, because that meant that the Royals could not have Hal McRae in their starting lineup for the whole World Series, which he was big veteran leader, big bat for them for years, especially that year. And today is actually Hal McRae's 80th birthday. So
also is the anniversary of Hal McRae's debut.
Nice.
Yeah. At the first part of our segment, we always do debuts, and we have got some, as you can imagine, some audio from Hal McRae, but also a great story about he and Harry Carey, and when they were both injured at one point. This is professional podcasting. This is what we do. We make sure they're all they're all intertwined. So Game 7 we go to after this, just like in 86, people forget Game 7. Game 6 is what sticks in everybody's mind. But how just done stick a fork in them were the Cardinals even before the game started, after being up 3-1, and then the way that they lost the game the prior night. It's just, you described it well in the book, how it was just dead.
They're done. You could see it on the broadcast. Lynn Jones of the Royals told me he saw a total look of defeat, and concern similar to what he saw from the Blue Jays as the Blue Jays squandered the ALCS. Whitey Herzog tried to give an impromptu go-get-'em speech before the game, and it was a total dud. The players just sat there all sunken. I think they did not handle Game 6 well at all. And Herzog, I think, exacerbated the defeatist attitude over that and the Dankinger call. Plus, Dankinger worked home plate for Game 7. So I think they just went headlong into just defeatism. I think they were dead. They'd given up.
Yeah, and after 3 innings, you're already down 5-0. And you've got Saberhagen on the mound for the Royals, who, again, complete game. This has got to be the last World Series where there were this many complete games pitched. But Tudor doesn't make it out of the third. And then it's just a conveyor belt from the bullpen, and nobody is effective. And then finally you get to Joaquin Andujar, who comes in. Joaquin had some issues already, but he felt he was getting squeezed. It looked like the calls were good, but Joaquin did not enjoy it.
In recent times, watch the team come this unraveled. The pitcher comes down, the manager gets thrown out, guys are out of the dugout moving people away from umpires. 3-2 as you get back to some semblance of baseball. And it's inside ball 4. So they'll load it up now. And Andujar's thrown out of the game, and they better get him out of there. They better get him out in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, so Whitey gets tossed, Andujar gets tossed. I mean, and then from there, the game's already over. It's 11-0 after 5 innings. And Al Michaels says, I mean, this is painful now. The Cardinals are out there just hoping this gets over quickly.
Oh, yeah. It's worth noting the 11-0 score is even more crazy when you consider that was a Game 7 between 2 20-game winners, Saberhagen and Tudor. That's one of only a handful of times that's happened in all of World Series history. Going into this game, you got to think this is going to be – you think it would be like Jack Morris versus John Smoltz 91, which is talked about in Chapter 11 of the book. No, it's just, absolute laugher.
4 complete games in this World Series between the two teams, 3 by the Royals. Sabes had 2 of them. World Series MVP, young pitcher, new father, just had a child during the World Series. And not only that, but he also knows how to spit mad bars.
Cause they got the trucks that are on the ball. From work to play, they've got it all. They've got a base, that's a real steal.
So I said he knows how to spit them. I didn't say he spit them well, but that is my favorite, top 5 baseball pop culture things in the history of the world. Brett Saberhagen rapping about a Ford truck is in the top 5 for sure.
I would love to be a fly on the wall for that, the executive meeting where they had to talk him into doing that.
Not even just talking him, but who's the ad person that goes to Ford and says, listen, Brett Saberhagen rapping, because that's the way to get Ford truck buyers really want to hear somebody rapping like that. But so Saberhagen, because they won, he's the MVP. He goes on Johnny Carson, the Tonight Show. I mean, that's a huge thing, obviously, in the 80s. Johnny, not the baseball fan that somebody like David Letterman is, who knows who Buddy Biancalana is. And so he introduces him as Bert Saberhagen.
That's one of I always laugh about that. Jeffrey Spivak, journalist, wrote a book that I used as a secondary source. He said Johnny Carson calling Brett Saberhagen Bert Saberhagen seemed to show people were forgetting 85 as soon as it had happened. I mean, it's just an innocent mistake, but still, that's a pretty big one.
So fine, we've got Bert over there, but then Buddy Biancalana shows up on Letterman, which I was always a Letterman guy. And I said that he had some great lines. He mentioned something to a reporter when somebody asked him about this during the World Series. And I guess he said, even though I'm 4,000 hits behind Rose, I'm still closer to him than Letterman is to Carson. And I think that's just a great line. And Letterman was clearly impressed by this because the crowd is laughing and stuff, but he is just talking straight to Buddy and saying, did you write that? Did somebody write that for you? Did you write that? And he goes, no, I wrote that. And you can tell Letterman is impressed by this. And he also brings a bat for Letterman. He goes, I use this bat through part of the season. You can tell because there's no ball marks on it. He was holding court with David Letterman and holding his own. And I think Buddy Biancalana is awesome for that.
And Buddy, Buddy was my first interview for the book. A great guy. I would consider him a friend overall. And that was the first thing we talked about, too. So him being so good-natured about that at the time and still laughing about it now, yeah, it's really cool.
Couple of other things of note, pop culture-wise, regarding this World Series. The night of Game 6, so this is the Denkinger call night. This is what was up against the World Series on ABC. We had the 6th ever episode of The Golden Girls. So that's pulling in some viewers, I'm not going to lie. Airwolf was on CBS, which probably would have been what I would have been watching had I not been watching the World Series. And then a made-for-TV movie, Children of the Night, which I have no idea what that is about. But there is also a Back to the Future tie-in that you mentioned to this World Series.
Yes, this was a coincidence so juicy, I had to include it in the book. It is probably the best year ever for popular culture. It's a contender. If you have to, in my opinion, if I have to pick the flagship moment of all culture in '85, it's Back to the Future, which premiered on July 3rd of that year. Now, if you go back to the movie, what's the date on the DeLorean in the present day? October 26, 1985. Which means that Marty McFly and Doc Brown were up to their shenanigans on the same day as the Denkinger call. And even though that's just a coincidence, what are the odds that they would just pick that random date of all days? And also, the movie is about how like the littlest changes in the past or smallest decisions can alter legacies and fate for decades. That's exactly what happened with Game 6, especially Denkinger. One call changed his life and many other fates forever.
Just imagine Denkinger's back at the hotel after the game. The commissioner talked to him, I think you said in the book, after the game. And I think Denkinger came in and said, did I get the call right? And the response was just a shake of the head. So he's feeling awful. And when he's back at the hotel, there in the Twin Pines Mall parking lot, somewhere is Marty McFly and Doc Brown.
Exactly.
The book itself reads incredibly well. And it flows smooth, and it's just very well written. So I just wanted to suggest that anybody that's listening to this, give it a read. We're not talking about the entire thing here. We're giving you some pointers. Give it a read. It's a really, really good book.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really proud of how the book turned out. And here's thanks for the recommendation, and especially to everyone listening, I'm all in on pushing for a paperback edition for the book. So definitely get it wherever you can and give it a read and leave it a good review on Amazon if you'd like. I think you'll all really enjoy it.
I do want to mention that right now on Amazon, if that is the best place for you to have people buy it, it is on sale on Amazon right now. I don't know if that's a Prime Week thing or Prime Day, whatever it is, but it is on sale there. I'm assuming that you can also get it other places. Well, why don't you just tell us now and we'll hit it again at the end.
Oh, for sure. You can get it through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any major bookseller. You can also get it through my publisher, University of Missouri Press. They're having a summer sale as well. So, yeah, there's multiple places you can get it on sale and add it to your summer reading list.
So last question here regarding the World Series, especially Don Denkinger. I think it was during the broadcast that I was watching yesterday, Al Michaels mentioned that when they introduced the umpires in Game 7, Denkinger's the crew chief, he's working home plate again. And when they introduced him, the crowd actually gave him a little cheer.
Yes, that was just a little detail sprinkled in, but I love that. It's like, while one of the main points of this book is to show that there was far more than the call, and that really wasn't the deciding thing like people make it out to be. There's always that cheeky acknowledgement of, like, especially from Kansas City fans, like, yeah, give a little low-key applause.
All right. So, Marshall, what we like to do here when we have guests is we have got a game that we play here every week. Usually Mark and I play it against each other, but when we have guests, we like to have them play it as well. We've got a leaderboard. We've changed the rules here and there. So we don't have a true leaderboard. We know who's done good and who's done bad. And it's pure luck. So there's no really doing good or bad, but it's a game that we like to call Wax Pack Heroes.
Wax Pack Hero! Gonna pull a Wax Pack Hero! Gold stars in his eyes! Hero! On a podcast tonight!
So what we're going to do here is I have got some packs of baseball cards, wax packs. We like to open them, just go through. We have a scoring system that we use. We will use the year of the card. So in this case, we're going to be using some 1985 tops to go along with 85 World Series. We're going to use the baseball reference WAR for the player that we pick out of these cards. But we can add or subtract to that total if anything that we call 80s baseball aesthetics. That means real stirrups that we can see, sanitary socks, mustaches, just facial hair of any sort, eye black, flip down sunglasses, batting helmets with no ear flaps, batting gloves under a fielding glove, just the things that you don't see anymore. We'll give you an extra 1/10 of a point. If it's a good mustache like Wade Boggs or Keith Hernandez, you get 2/10 of a point. So we've got that. Some things that we don't like, if you're wearing 2-in-1s, those kind of things that we don't like, that's a minus 1/10 of a point. If they were a award winner that year, so MVP, Gold Glove, All-Star, any of those things, a whole 1/2 a point for each of those. If there's a Hall of Famer in the card, you get a whole point, whether the focus or not. We're not going to do the Ricky Henderson or Nolan Ryan, who are our two favorite players thing. We don't do that with guests. But beyond that, we're just going to open up some cards here from 1985 and see. Usually we just remember things like the Buddy Biancalana being on Letterman and that kind of stuff. Pop culture points will also, if we can find some easy ones, that's a 1/2 a point each. Unless, of course, they've appeared on The Simpsons, Seinfeld, or Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Then you get a whole point for those. But let's go ahead and just pull a random card here. And the first card is a former guest of ours. So we always like that. With the San Diego Padres, though, it is Dave Dravecky.
Ooh.
Member of the God Squad. Dave Dravecky, 8 years in the big leagues. Of course, his career cut short because of cancer, the arm. By the way, speaking of great guests, Dave Dravecky was just awesome.
He was fantastic.
We literally had to wrap it up because he was just willing to talk and about anything, and a great guest. We really appreciated that. 8 years in the big leagues, 6 with the Padres, 3 with the Giants. 1985, he was with the Padres. He went 13-11 with a 2.93 ERA for the second season in a row, a 2.93 ERA. But the Padres just were not. 85. They World Series the year before, right? 84.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And 13-11, but a 2.93 ERA, 214 and 2/3 innings, only 200 hits allowed, 105 strikeouts, a 120 ERA plus, and a WAR of 3.7.
Nice.
Which is really nice. So you'll get that as your base score. He was an all-star 2 years prior, but that was his only all-star appearance. Let's see, at one point was traded with Craig Def Leppertz and Kevin Mitchell to the Giants for Keith Comstock, Mark Davis, and Mark Grant. Memories of Dave Dravecky, I'm guessing most people remember him essentially breaking his arm on the mound at Candlestick, but anything else from Dave Dravecky that comes to mind?
You pretty much just described the extent of my knowledge. I have some friends who have met him and don't know as much about him as I'd like to. Maybe I should change that after this.
Listening to our Dravecky episodes would be a great place to start.
That's right.
I will do that. That would be it.
I think you'll get some pop culture points. In 2021, indie folk artist Cousin Wolf released a song entitled Dave Dravecky as part of an album called 9 Innings. So that definitely I remember we have listened to the song on the pod before when we found that out. So that'll be a 1/2 a point right there. Additionally for you, IMDb, he does not have anything else there besides just appearances as himself. The Ozzy Osbourne show, he appeared as himself, but I don't know what that is. All right. Strong start, though, a 4.2. Your next card is Gator from the Yankees, Ron Guidry.
Ooh.
Let's see, just a head and shoulder shot. He does have a mustache, though, so you will get a 10th of a point for that just right off the bat. Just a typical spring training shot. Gator, 14 years in the big leagues, every single one of them with the New York Yankees. 1985, second in the Cy Young balloting. This is a good pack for you. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, this is strong. Jeez.
Got MVP votes, did win a Gold Glove, so there's another half a point for you. Led the league in wins. He went 22-6 with a 3.27 ERA, 11 complete games, 2 shutouts, 259 innings pitched, 243 hits allowed, and 143 strikeouts for an ERA plus of 123 and a WAR of 4.5. Wow. Plus your points for the Gold Glove there. That's a 5.10 so far from Gator. Let's see here. Well, he was never traded because he was with the Yankees for his entire career. 2 World Series wins in 77 and 78 with the Yankees. And just a great pitcher. Did win a Cy Young in 1978 as well. Memories of Ron Guidry. Anything? I remember him because he was on the Yankees when Ricky was, so that's kind of where I know him from. But Louisiana Lightning, didn't wrestle alligators like Ben McDonald, but was a fan of them, apparently.
Or a Rube Waddell, if you want to go back for a dead ball era. Another great pitcher that wrestled alligators. Yeah, again, I guess I should clarify. I was born in 1989, so these players and all this, like, this is before my time. Although I definitely watched a lot of highlights and a lot of research on these players. You summed up Ron Guidry really well. I just think of that as being like a 70s Yankee name. That's really interesting. I just didn't realize he lasted that long into the 80s. The Yankees were great in 85. They won 97 games, but finished behind the 99 win Blue Jays, and another hallmark of 80s baseball, no wild cards. So even if you had an incredible season, you could still miss out. But yeah, you summed up Guidry pretty well.
85, the year Don Mattingly was the AL MVP. Mm-hmm. Ricky should have been, I think, and Mattingly was the MVP because he was teammates with Ricky, so he had Ricky to drive in all those runs. But I love Don Mattingly, but obviously Ricky Henderson is my guy. All right, so you're at 9.3 after 2 cards. All right, next, it's going to continue here. You have got from the Toronto Blue Jays, Dave Stieb.
Oh, wow.
Very strong pack.
Wow.
He's got a good mustache here. This is an action shot from spring training. I can't see the stirrups. I'm sure they're real, but we can't see them. But he's got a mustache, so you'll get a 10th of a point right off the bat for that. But, I mean, Dave Stieb is always going to bring in numbers.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of WAR. Overall, 16 years in the big leagues, 15 with the Blue Jays, and then 93, 1 year he played with the White Sox. In 1985, good news for you, All-Star year. Also came in 7th in the Cy Young balloting, went 14-13 with a 2.48 to lead the league that year. 265 innings pitched, only gave up 206 hits. Wow. Struck out 167, led the league with a 171 ERA plus and a WAR of 6.8. Wow. Plus you get the All-Star bonus there. And that is mad. This score so far. Let's see here. Steve was a catcher and pitcher in the Atlanta minor league system, and he is a member of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Steve currently resides in Reno, Nevada, and works as a building contractor.
Whoa. I didn't know you. That's wild. That's keeping a theme of 85 Blue Jays actually being closer to me than I realized. I recently learned Lloyd Mosby lives in El Dorado Hills, which is just a skip and a hop away from me. And Reno is not too far. My parents live in Truckee, which is right by Reno. So I had no idea Dave Stieb was in Reno. And, of course, old Steve had a strong ALCS against the Royals. Won Game 1, helped set up a win in Game 4, but I think he ran just a bit out of gas in Game 7.
So speaking of 85 and somewhat near you, much closer to me, but Willie McGee still lives here in the East Bay. I met some older gentlemen at a baseball card shop here locally that know him. He apparently does groundwork for some high schools to keep up their stadiums and so forth, but is still around here. So
nice.
There's another connection.
Interesting note on Steve. He won 140 games in the 1980s, which was the second most. Anybody want to guess who won the most games in the 1980s?
Oh, Jack Morris.
Bingo. You get the prize turkey.
One of our favorite Hall of Famers, Jack Morris. Dave Stieb is not in the Hall of Fame, but Jack Morris is. There should be an inquiry there. All right. 16.7 through cards. You've got two more cards here, and you're already about where we are when we finish. Your next card is a favorite, not a favorite, because we try not to promote people like this, but with the Los Angeles Dodgers, Steve Howe.
Ooh, I didn't. It's interesting. Well, because I didn't mean to interrupt. I just think of him more for 81 than 85. But
yeah, so Steve Howe we have a do not talk about list here for people like Steve Howe, but we will soldier on here through his numbers at least. He played for 12 years, Yankees for 6, Dodgers for 5, and then Texas and Minnesota for parts of seasons. Parts of those seasons were 85, where he split time between those two teams. You're going to take a bit of a hit here. Went 3-4 total with a 5.49 ERA. I think he was dealing with some issues around this time.
Yeah.
32 games, 41 innings, 58 hits allowed, 33 runs, only struck out 21. And that is a minus 1.5 WAR. Yikes. That's a pretty big minus.
Do you lose any points for being suspended for life 7 times?
Yeah.
Which is impossible, by the way.
We do minus points if you were like Pittsburgh drug trials, steroids. I'm afraid we are going to have to nick you for Steve Howe.
Honestly, it's okay because I think that's kind of a hallmark. Two things. Number one, I got off to such an incredibly fortunate start with those
Cardinals
first 3.
like start.
Yeah, Cardinals and then for 81, and that's a sign of how the 85 Dodgers bullpen wasn't quite on the level with their rotation. So I accept this loss with grace.
Okay.
So first round draft pick, 16th overall in the 1979 draft by the Dodgers. Wow, I mean, we have talked about him actually more than enough, I think, in past shows. So you are down to a 14.7 with 1 card left. Yeah, this is going to be a good score regardless. But you've got a Hall of Famer. This is this is completely random, but you have got a Hall of Famer, somebody who Mark and I pronounce his name completely differently. I pronounce it, of course, correctly with the Milwaukee Brewers. It's Robin Yount.
Oh yeah,
the one and only Robin Yount.
Oh,
now. The good news for you right off the bat here is you're going to score big off this card. This card is beautiful. He's got real stirrups on. He's got eye black. He's got a mustache. He's got flip down sunglasses, and he's got sweatbands with a McDonald's logo on it for the Ronald McDonald House.
Oh,
so there is 0.5 of a point just from looking at the card alone. He is a Hall of Famer, so you get a whole extra point of WAR for that. And we haven't even looked at his numbers yet. Let's see. Robin Yount, of course, the entire 20-year career with the Brewers. Overall, let's see. I was going to say World Series, but no, obviously not a World Series. 2 MVPs, 3 All-Stars, a Gold Glove, and 3 Silver Sluggers. 1985, none of those awards, unfortunately. He hit 277, 342 on base, a 442 slug for a 115 OPS plus. He had 15 home runs, 68 RBI. He had 10 stolen bases and a 1.9 WAR. So that's just, I mean, it's another good card. 2-time MVP for Robin Yount. Of course, his brother. A different story. First round draft pick, 3rd overall by the Brewers in 1973.
Yount also accidentally shot former teammate Dale Swaim with pellets from his shotgun when they were out hunting. So that's fun.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, injuries were minor, but he did shoot him.
I'm not sure that there is anything else here that is going to help you out score-wise, though. Yeah, it looks like that. But I mean, that is an 18.1, which for 5 cards is pretty much unheard of.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding.
You have done very well. I think, again, I haven't converted all of our older guests to this newer scoring system, but you are right up there with Richie Schaefer, who was a Devil Ray for a while. And you might know of Brad Balukjian, who's been on it a couple times.
Brad, not only do I know of Brad, the Wax Pack was one of my main inspirations for my book, and he did a blurb. You'll see it on the back. He did a blurb for my book. So me and Brad Balukjian continue to have synergy. This is all music to my ears.
Well, and I got a little wrestling in with WrestleMania for Brad there in our intro as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
All right. So congratulations. 18.1. That's going to be at the top here. I need to translate Richie's score, but that is a very strong score. We'll keep you posted and send the trophy over. But hey, one more time, if you want to tell people where you can get the book, where they can get the book, and also, socials, anywhere that they can follow you to get more.
Of course. So again, the book is called Interstate 85, The Royals, the Cardinals, and the Show Me World Series. You can get it through any major bookseller, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that. You can get it straight through University of Missouri Press. Right now, there's sales on both Amazon and the Missouri Press store. I am all in and pushing for a paperback edition as soon as possible. So more than ever, if you get it now, that is super appreciated. And if you liked it, leave a good review on Amazon and Goodreads and what have you. As far as social media, you can follow me just about anywhere. My Twitter handle is at Marshall Garvey. I'm on Instagram, Marshall the Irish, all lowercase, one word. I'm also on Blue Sky, Marshall8507. Yeah, just that whole thing. And look for me on Facebook too. I'm primarily just networking with baseball people these days, so you can add me there. You can also go to my writer's website, marshallpgarvey.com. And yeah, again, just Interstate 85, Royals, the Cardinals, and the Show Me World Series. 27 new interviews, everyone from George Brett to Ozzie Smith to Kurt Kepshire. I talked to him, and I really look forward to the book's been doing great and want to get it to paperback and audiobook and want to continue sharing these amazing stories with everyone. So definitely get it.
Great. All of those, we'll also put those in the show notes so that everybody can, if you're not good at typing or writing things down really quickly, we'll put those in the show notes so that everybody can grab them there. Marshall, thank you very much. As Mark said, I don't know if you can tell or not, but I really enjoyed this book.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy. And thank you guys for having me. This was a great discussion. Love the unique focus on pop culture aspects, especially. And the card game was an absolute blast. This has been one of my favorite podcast appearances so far.
There's the only two things I can remember in life are baseball and pop culture. So that's why we go there.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, that'll do it. Thank you very much, Marshall, for joining us again. Just look in the show notes. You can find all of his information and go get that book again. All right. So thank you, Marshall, for joining us. That is going to do it for this episode. Thank you very much for sticking with us and listening to us, I guess, every week. If you want more of us, you can find us all over the socials. You can find it in the show notes where, as I mentioned, I'll put all of Marshall's information as well. Just do a Google search for Two Strike Noise. That's TWO Strike Noise. We're on Blue Sky. We're on YouTube. I'm streaming 3 times a week on Twitch and YouTube as well. And it's all down there. But we also have an email address, which is how we've been contacting Marshall. And Mark, you are the keeper of said address.
Oh, yes. I am the Colossus of email. Quite go like the Colossus of clout. Yeah, you can write to us at Two Strike Noise, spell it out, TWO Strike Noise @gmail.com.
The equalizer of email. All right, that'll do it. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you again on the next episode of Two Strike Noise.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.